Alright, so in this section we're going to talk about a feature called alpha lock. It's a very simple idea that can be used in a lot of different ways to make it easier to make your art. And so we're going to start by, I just have my background color set as just kind of a middle gray. You can just click on your background to change that color. I don't like drawing on white or painting on white because one, it's really bright, it sort of hurts your eyes, and two, it makes everything else look darker than it really is because it's so bright. So I'm going to use kind of a middle background color. And there's three ways. Well, first, there's two ways to access alpha lock, and then there's three different ways I'm going to show you can use it. So first off, I've got my layer here on top, and I'm just going to write, let's just pick black, and I'm going to write something on here like alpha lock. So I'm going to show you how this works. So on this new layer, the only thing on this layer is what I've written here, alpha lock. So let's say that I'm doing line art for something, okay? And I'm just going to draw a quick sketch of something here, a concerned looking duck here. So I'm going to go to my layer where I've drawn the words alpha lock and then the concerned duck. I'm going to tap it. There's two ways to access it. It's like you can tap it and it'll bring up the menu. You see the rename, select, copy, fill, clear. Alpha lock is what we're going to use. Now, when you click that, you're going to see this little checkerboard appear. It probably looks pretty small in the video, but right up here in the layer window, you can kind of see the drawing that we did, but you can also see those checks behind it. Now, what that means is we can only draw, color, paint, smudge, whatever, on what we've drawn, okay? So everything else is transparent. So I'll show you the difference here. Let's go ahead and turn that off for now. So say I want to change the color of these lines, and I pick a different color. And, well, if I just start painting, you know, obviously it's going to paint right over my lines. That doesn't really work. So I'm going to alpha lock that layer instead. So I click the layer, alpha lock. Now when I start painting, you're going to see that no matter how hard I try, I can't go outside of those lines. Because basically what alpha lock does is it allows you to lock what you're working on to just the places where there are pixels. All this other area, there's no pixels there. So it locks those down. So we could go around this whole thing and change our duck to red. Or if I wanted to change the word alpha lock to white, I can just switch the color white. Get a bigger brush. You can see it looks just like I've drawn that with white. Okay, so that's one way you can use alpha lock, is just to change the color of your line art. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll hide this for now. Make a new layer. Hit the little plus sign up here at the top right. And I'm going to show you something else you can do. So I'm going to switch to the round brush from the painting brush palette over here. I'm going to show you another way you can use alpha lock. So I make sure I'm on a different layer. And let's say I'm just doing a silhouette. And the content of your silhouette doesn't really matter. We're just kind of using this as an example. Let me make a smaller brush here. And he is waving at us. So let's say that you're doing a painting and you know that your outline is done of whatever, say, your character is, and you have that on a separate layer. Well, we can alpha lock that layer and you'll never be able to go outside the lines. So I use this a lot when I'm doing coloring with comics, of course, because you tend to stay in the lines, but it even works with painting and different things as well. So I'll go back to my layers window. Again, I'm going to show you a different way this time to activate alpha lock. So if you two-finger swipe to the right, I'll do that again. So I've got my little man here. I'm going to put 2 fingers on layer 2 and swipe to the right. Now you'll see when it pops back, we've got those checker marks again, those checkerboard things up here. Now you can undo this just by doing it again. So 2 finger swipes. That's a different way you can activate alpha lock. So let's say that I've got my gentleman here and I've got my outline exactly like I want it. And I'm going to start coloring this guy. Well, you can see I don't have to worry about staying in the lines. Now you can do this for all the different shapes. Some people like to do the different aspects in different layers, so you could do like his shirt in one layer and other things, but I can switch colors, I can add highlights, I can do all of these things and never ever worry about going outside the line. So it really speeds up your painting process if you're someone that kind of works on art that has silhouettes and things. Now, if you're doing more digital painting and your edges are rougher and those sort of things, this might not be a technique that you use, but I can go throughout this entire piece and paint all I want, and it's never going to go outside those lines because those layers are alpha locked. The third thing I wanted to bring up, which I've really already kind of done here, is your rendering. Now, I'm actually going to combine two techniques here. Let's say that I've got my gentleman here that I'm going to render his hand, let's say, for example. So I've got that layer, it's on its own layer. So I'm going to go to my selection tool. And let's say that I'm going to just select his hand. Now, there's a little button down here at the bottom. You can probably barely see it. Down here at the bottom of the screen, it's got two little lines kind of next to each other, sort of like this. You can see on the little window there. There's two little lines. When I click that, what it's going to do is it's going to create a new layer. And you can see it's creating that new layer from the selection. Okay, so now I can alpha lock that layer and I can paint away to my heart's content here, with all the shadows and highlights, all these different things. And again, never have to worry about going outside of those lines. So that's a very simple illustration of how alpha lock works, but it's a very powerful tool to use in your digital paintings or in your drawings or whatever it might be. Remember, there's two ways to do it. One is to just tap your layer that you have selected and choose alpha lock, or two fingers swipe to the right on the layer to toggle that off and on. Now, two finger tap is opacity, okay? We're going to talk about that later, but two finger swipe, that'll activate will toggle your alpha lock. So let's go ahead and move on to the next lesson.